Okay, we'll make a start there. And I just have to immediately clear my throat. So welcome to this session on managing grades and feedback in Canvas. My name is Roisin Garvey from the Department of Technology and Enhanced Learning. What I'm going to go through today is an introductory session on releasing grades and feedback in Canvas and where you might find your assessment submissions, how to add your feedback, and how to release it for your students. Um, what I have is just a couple of slides at the start where I just kind of go through a few bits and pieces about Canvas, and then we'll jump over into a demonstration. I'll go through a few bits in there as well. If you have any questions throughout this, please feel free to use the chat to ask your question, or you can pop in a question in the Q&A, and you should be able to see both of those in your Zoom menu there as well. So the chat or the Q&A, and I'll try to answer those throughout the session. Um, and if there's anything as well that I can't answer, I'll be able to send it out to you after this session, along with the recording. And what I'm also going to do is I can send you the links to two other sessions that are being run this week. So I started this session on Monday, and then my colleagues Jeremiah and Dara also did a session on Turnitin and then advanced grading and feedback. So I think if you're okay with this and everything covered in here, it might be kind of handy for you to see what they've covered as well as part of their sessions. So I'll be able to send you those too. Okay, so just in the interest of time, I'm just going to start into it. So what we're going to look at today is the gradebook, kind of the settings and submissions and results in that. We're going to look at SpeedGrader, where we can add our feedback and our grades and look at using our rubrics. We'll have a quick look at Turnitin, which is largely just to see where we can access the reports and bits and pieces like that. And then I'll have a quick look at quizzes and how you might have to review quizzes, even though a lot of them are automatically graded. The last thing I'll do as well is I'm going to show you a student view so you can see how that might look as well for your students. Just very quickly as well before we start, if you need any support or any help while you're doing your grading, particularly if you're doing it kind of in the evening or at weekends where we might not be available, Canvas Tier 1 is 24/7 support. So you can contact them through web chat, you can submit a ticket, or you can call or email them. Now, we find that the web chat is the most responsive. You usually get like quite a quick answer from that, and that's available in the Canvas help menu. So if you have any kind of out of hours, we'll say, questions, they should be able to get back to you straight away. If you're looking for local support, so if you're looking for kind of issues, if you're looking to solve issues, I should say, that you can contact us in Tel at edtech@mtu.ie. And then if you have IT specific issues, so that would largely be around kind of logins or different, maybe enrollments and stuff like that, you can contact IT services through their Avanti ticketing system. I always say as well, don't panic if you don't know who to contact. If you contact one of these two groups, either ourselves or IT services, will be able to direct you or guide you to the answer. We also have our Tell website, which is a lot of kind of our upcoming training to be able to keep an eye on. We also have some staff guides. So these are on-demand resources available on a load of topics in Canvas. If you can't reach us or anything like that, and you want to just have a quick browse through those guides, you'll be able to search for any particular issues. And then we also have our YouTube channel, and I'll be sending the link to this on YouTube, so you'll be able to see some of our previous recordings that we have available there as well. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into the demonstration. We'll try to keep this to the 30-40 minutes. So we'll just get started now on it. So what we kind of look at, there's four different kind of elements that we look at in Canvas. We look at, I suppose, in terms of the assessment workflow. So we have our assignments or our quizzes. So that would be any of the assessments that we actually set up within Canvas. We have our speed grader then for sharing our feedback, kind of using our rubrics and grading the submissions. Then we have the rubrics, I suppose, are the other one, the other separate thing. So that would be, I'll show you how you can add the rubrics to an assignment. And it just kind of helps in terms of kind of consistency and transparency for the students, and for anybody grading the assignments. And then the last part of the assessment workflow is the grade book. So that's where you would be kind of releasing the grades to the students. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into the grade center. So that's here in your Canvas menu under the heading grades. And what the grade center does is it'll automatically list all of the students that are enrolled on your module. So they'll be here on the leftmost column. And then any assessments that you've created within your module will also automatically be added as separate columns then in your grade center. Over here, we have what are called assessment groupings or assignment groupings. So these are kind of manually created ones. I'll show you that in just a second. I'm going to jump out and show you those. So if you were adding weighting to your assessments, say you've a bunch of continuous assessments or things like that within your module, you can add weighting to those, and those show up then as well in your grade center, and they'll be automatically totted up then based on the grades that you're adding. It's a horizontal view, so if you use your scroll bar down the bottom, you'll be able to go over right to the end where you'll see your kind of grade total over there. Just so this makes even more sense, I'm just going to jump out into my assignments first, just to show you how these are populated. So I'm going to go back into my main Canvas module, and I'm going to go under here under assignments. And you can see I have different assessments set up here. I've got a standard essay, I've got a Turnitin assignment, I've put in a quiz, and then I also have a graded discussion. And what I've done is I've created new assignment groups, and I've put each of the assessments under those groupings. So I have my standard assignments, my Turnitin assignments, my quizzes, and my discussions. So the way you would do that is you'd kind of click the plus group button up here, and then in this assignment setting menu, if you click on that, you'd be able to add the weighting to those particular groupings. It's not a requirement. It's just some people might find it a little bit handy to be able to automatically kind of tot up the weighting. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my grades here. And what I've done with this is because it's kind of a sample module, I've created some assignments and I've created some assignment submissions as well from my two students who are on my module. You'll also see down here that there's a test student. So this is the generic student that's created every time you select the View as Student button in Canvas. The reason I'm kind of saying that it's a generic student is because if you have set up reasonable accommodations within your Canvas module where, say, you have created an assessment and then you've also assigned it with a different maybe due date or a different duration for one particular student or a cohort of students who need additional accommodations for that assessment. If you use the student view, you can't actually check what that student is seeing because the student view is that generic student. So it will just show like kind of your general student within your module. So if you do have reasonable accommodation set up and you want to check that they're working properly, you can just ask us to check it or ask Tier 1 to check it, and just for that bit of confirmation if you're worried about it. So the test student is just the generic one, so don't worry if you're not seeing what you think you should be seeing. One important thing about the Grade Center as well that I like to say first off is that you need to kind of bear in mind the posting policy in Canvas. So for all academic modules in MTU, the grade posting policy should be set to manual. And what that means is that you're in control of when your grades and feedback are released to your students. It's, as I said, it's the default setting for the academic modules, but we usually encourage people to just double check to make sure that it is set up like that on their modules. And the way that you can do it is you can come over here to the top right and there's a kind of a cog icon. And if you click on that, you have some tabs here about the gradebook settings. So you have things about late policies, and here in the middle, you've got grade posting policy. So you can see here that this is set to manually post grades. So I'm okay with that. That means that I can take my time adding in my grades and feedback. And once I'm happy that I've everything graded, I can release that to the students then. The other options here that you have as well are around kind of view options. So that lets you kind of arrange the grade book in whatever way you'd like. This can be quite useful if you've got quite a big class, quite a lot of submissions throughout the semester. And another thing that you can do that I find quite handy is you can show a notes column, and that way you can kind of add in small notes as reminders to yourself. You can also do things like view the hidden grade indicator, and I'll show you that in a second. And you can also enable gradebook status icons. I like to kind of have this turned on because if you see down the bottom here, there's different status colors. So for assignments that are late, assignments that are missing or resubmitted or excused, things like that. And that corresponds to the colors over here in the gradebook. So I can see here that the status color blue is related to the assignment being late. And so I know here that this student has submitted this assignment late. I know that red is for missing, so I can see here that the test student or the generic student has not submitted to that, so that's highlighted there. By turning on those icons, it just gives me a little bit of a reminder here when I'm viewing the gradebook. So if I click on Apply Settings, that's just showing up here as well. So this is showing up as late, and if I hover over it, it says late, and this is showing up as missing as well. If I kind of come up here to the top of my column, I can click here to there's a little menu in each of the columns. So this is specific to that particular assessment. So if I click here on the essay one, what it allows me to do is just kind of maybe sort the submissions. I can do things like I can, if I need to hide my grades, I can change the way that the grades are entered, whether they're points or percentages. I can download the submissions, so that'll kind of help me download them all in bulk. I can import rubrics, things like that. But one kind of nice feature here is the message students who option. And what that lets me do is just very quickly kind of maybe send a reminder to students who fit a particular criteria. So it says here for students who have not yet submitted, for students who maybe have not been graded or have submitted, you might have some reasons to do it. So for instance, I want to let my students know, look, grades and feedback is going to be released next Friday. So what I can do is I can come down here to have not been graded. So my message is going to go to students who have not been graded. I can see here that two students are match this criteria, and I can drop down the menu to show which students they are. And I can edit this then, my subject and my message. So I can just say grades and feedback will be released. I don't know what the date of next Friday is. I'm just going to say the 20th. That's wrong, but just to kind of, I suppose, help manage expectations. So being quite useful for that. And you can attach a file or you can attach kind of a media recording, but it just kind of helps maybe speed up a process of just being able to get that message out to students. So I can click send there, and that message is gone to the students now, just to give them a little bit of a heads up. I think they're the main things that I wanted to show you here just now. This was the same in my previous session this week. I have to keep notes for myself in case I forget anything. Sorry, speaking of notes, the notes column here. So this I find kind of useful if you want to just maybe put in a reminder for yourself. So For instance, this student here has submitted a late assignment, but they've told me that they have a doctor's note, so I can just say uh, awaiting. Um, I can't spell any of these sessions. Awaiting doctor's note. So that just gives me a bit of a reminder that this student will probably be, the status will probably be changed to excused or something like that. So it's just kind of a handy one there just to be able to add the notes just for yourself when you're going to grade. Now I'm just going to go back into the main Canvas module, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in to show you the speed grader and how to use the feedback and add in the grades for that. So I'm going to go into my assignments and I'm going to choose the first one here, the essay, because this is just a standard submission. There's no Turnitin or anything with it. It's just a sample essay. So when I click in here, this is the assignment brief that I've given and the points and everything like that. Down here, I have a rubric added. So this is where I would be adding my rubric within the assignment itself. And this is something that's available. If I click on preview here, it's available to the students as well. So they'll be able to see, you know, that full transparency about how this assignment is going to be graded. So up here on the right, I'm going to click into my speed grader. Now, this is quite a handy tool to be able to add in your feedback in multiple different ways. You can add in your grades and you can kind of toggle between students quite easily. Now, I used this as an example in the previous training session, so some of my additions are still there. So I'm just going to delete that one there just so I can show you fresh. And I'm just going to pull this out a small bit here. So this is kind of my grading and feedback panel over here on the right. And this would be my preview here of the student submission. Now, most of the time you will see the student submission show up here like this, particularly if it's a Word document or you know, an Excel file or PDF, they will show up here as a preview. But it is possible to download the submission as well. And you can do that over here using this arrow here. If I want to go between my students, I can go up here on the right and I can click to select the students here in this drop down, or else I can just use the arrows and go between the students in that way as well. So I can just have a look through that. Um, if you are if you have a module that's, say, a cross-listed module, or you might have a lot of different sections within your module, you'll be able to filter by the sections here as well. So we often find that staff might be only correcting the students within a particular section or a particular CRN. So that, maybe you're doing it all at once. Maybe you have the whole entire lot of students to correct, but it might just be helpful to be able to filter them using those options up here as well. So showing all the sections, and you can kind of say, all right, I'll just filter by these particular ones. Okay, so when it comes to actually grading the assignment, what I can do is I can put in some feedback here. There's a few different ways to add the feedback. You can add in-text feedback, and you do this using these icons up here at the top. So what it lets me do is I can add a little marker within the content. So if I just drop it there by clicking, and then I can leave an additional comment on that. Um, I'm never particularly inspired in terms of what comments I'm adding during these training sessions, so just ignore this. But it's just kind of showing you how this feature can work. So you can just drop your little pointer here. You can change the color up here if you like. You can also use this highlighter option, which does exactly what you think it does. It just highlights, it lets you highlight particular text. And then it'll open up this little icon here so you can add additional commentary on what you've highlighted. Um, my apologies. I don't know, is it something with the morning when I'm doing these that I just can't think of anything productive to write. So up here then you've got your free text annotation, so you can kind of change your formatting for that as well. And that just lets you put in just a free text comment wherever you drop it basically in the content. And then what you can also do is you can have your kind of strikeout annotation where you can just maybe strike out a couple of words and you can just say, that's unnecessary. Um, and I'm not sure if I spelled that right. And you have also kind of you're able to highlight things as well with these two tools here. So you've got your box, so you can just draw a box around something. Again, you can leave an additional comment, or you can just do a freehand drawing like that. And again, any of these tools that you use, it gives you the option to add that additional bit of feedback as well with it. So that's quite useful for students. In terms of feedback as well, if I scroll down here at the bottom, you also see this input text input box here where you can add what I would kind of usually use it for would be general feedback. So, um, you know, uh, something like that. So I'm just saying, great work, could do with more references. What I also have here is you can see, you might be able to see this kind of speech bubble and this number indicator next to it. If I click this, what this brings out is my comment library. So this is something that's specific to me. And it lets me save and reuse comments that might be applicable to a lot of the assessments that I would be grading. So here I instead of saying could do with more references like I typed out there, I could just add I could just add it from my comment library as well there. So that can be quite useful. And if there is something that you're writing, so say there's a new comment that you're writing or something like that, and you say like, okay, this would be applicable to a lot of my submissions, you can you can kind of save it then as well as a an additional comment that would be kind of stay with your comment library so you can reuse it as well afterwards. So that can be quite useful. Jeremiah, I think in his session is going through this in a lot more detail, so I won't spend too much time on it. But you can also add in an attachment. So say it might be a file you want or a report you want them to have a look at. You can use this button here with the kind of the video camera icon that'll let you it'll just pop up here in terms of permissions if you can see that that will let you record a video or audio uh, feedback. Now this is it plays funny with Zoom and you also need to kind of allow the permissions in your browser, but it will allow you to record a video message with audio and things like that and do a bit of a screen capture. You can also upload maybe another video that you might have done, and that'll attach it then into the feedback for this submission. You can also do speech recognition, so speech to text. And if you do this, this is another one as well that I had to add the permissions for within the browser. So you might find that this isn't available straight away when you kind of go to use it. But it just depends on what browser you're using. So if I click on the record button here, this lets me do speech to text, so anything that I'm saying will show up as text then within the box. I really hope it works right. Um, I'll just click on stop there. It didn't work right. We definitely have an example of this working properly. I don't know, is it the permissions I'm after using? So what I can do is I'll make sure I send that in the email as well. But it is a really, really useful one because it's quite precise when you are using the speech to text, and it can be quite useful if you've a lot of submissions to do. And some people just find it way easier to do the speech recognition to add in your comments. When you're ready with that, then as well, you're just clicking on your submit comment here, and that will kind of attach it then to the things are just not working for me this morning. So that'll attach it then to the submission. I'm just jumping up here there and very quickly to have a look at how you would be grading with the rubric. Again, just not going into too much detail on it because Jeremiah will be covering it. But what you can do is because this is attached to the assessment, you can click the different rubric criteria here for how you would like to grade it. So if I'm saying middle of the road here and full marks here. And I can also change the grade over here then as well under the criterion score. So I could say maybe 20 there instead. And you might be able to see there that that's being reflected up here in it's automatically being tallied up here based on the rubric, how you're kind of selecting and filling out the rubric down here. And you can also add in additional feedback then with these comment boxes here as well. So when I'm finished using my rubric, I can add my score here. And that is that particular submission graded. So I can see that that's graded up here. And then when I move on to the next one, then that's sorry, this is coming up now. It did this to me the other day as well because that's not saving for some reason with the browser and things like that. So, but I assure you it does work. Um, so what this is letting me do is add my grade for here as well. So you can add a grade without using the rubric, or you can use the rubric here as well for that. Now we can see here as well that the status shows up as late, but it's up to you in terms of kind of if there's any marks being penalized for any of those late submissions. I think this was the way I submitted this in the when I was doing the samples was I kind of submitted it like a couple of minutes later or something. So you'll be able to see when so oh yes, I see it up here. So it was submitted at 8:32 and the due date was at 8:30. So um I feel like that one is okay. And another reassurance up here as well is that the grade is hidden. So because of our grade posting policy that it's set to manual, you can see that the grade shows up here as hidden. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump back to my main Canvas module here as well, because I'm just going to go into show you where you would find your Turnitin submissions, how to look at maybe the quiz moderation, and then what we'll look at is releasing the grades then for your students. If you've any questions, you just pop them into the chat or the Q&A as well, and we'll have a look at it. I will try and get you out of here now in the next 10 minutes because I know it's a very busy time for everybody. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my assignments here and I can access my Turnitin assignments. So obviously they're submitted in a slightly different way. Well, they're submitted in the same way for a student, but your submissions are accessed in a slightly different way. So if I click into my Turnitin assignment, I can still access them through the speed grader. It's probably the easiest way to access the submissions. So if I click on the speed grader, this is the same way that I would have with my essay. And I can see much the same kind of setup here. This is something I want to show as well, actually. When I was submitting this sample essay, I submitted it twice. So I had it set to allow multiple submissions. So I submitted two papers for it. So I can see up here that there's two submissions and I can choose which one to view. But by default, it'll show you the latest submission. Um, and here I see my similarity score index. So that's showing 6%. So if I click on that, it will launch the Turnitin interface. And that's going to show me the assessment and it's going to show me like kind of the Turnitin tools and features that are available. Now, I'm not going to go through this in any detail because Dara has done a whole session on it, but I will send you the link to that because there's a couple of those recordings up there, Jeremiah's and Dara's from earlier in the week. So I'll be able to send those to you with this recording. So that's how you would access the Turnitin Feedback Studio. Now, if you might have the setting for your Turnitin assignments where students are able to see the similarity report, that is treated separately to your grades and feedback. So students would be able to see much the same view as this, but even if you have added your grade or any of like comments or anything like that within Turnitin, um, Darryl will go through all of this as well, just in terms of assurances, but they they'll only be able to see the similarity index. They won't be able to see your feedback until you actually have that released. Dara's done a very good session on that where he kind of shows the kind of the settings and things like that based on it. So I'm just going to come out of that again. So I'm coming out of my Turnitin Feedback Studio. I'm coming out of my Speed Grader and I'm back now into my Canvas module. And what I'm going to do is go go into my quizzes. So if I click into that here, I have a short quiz that I've set up for my students. And this is really just to show you where the quiz submissions go. Now, an awful lot of people will use the Canvas quizzes for automatically graded quizzes. But there may be a time where you have created a quiz that has an open-ended question, and you might need to go in and actually grade that manually for a particular quiz. So what I do is I come into my quiz, I click on Build, and then up here at the top, I click on Moderate. And I can see that I have students who've submitted quizzes. They've taken the quizzes. So if I click in on one of the students' attempts, so I can see here that there's a message coming up. The following questions need review, and it's question 2. And what that is it's a kind of an essay type question. So the student is putting in free text, answering the question free text, so it can't be automatically graded. So what I'm coming to do is, so can you name all of the campuses in MTU, Bishopstown, CSM, Crawford, NSPCI, North and South in Kerry? So I can say, it's saying wait for a grade. I can just say, yes, that's correct. And it will automatically add 1 point here for that particular question. Now, what I can also do is I can add in a comment as well. So I could say, you know, something like that. I can add in a comment just to kind of say, like, look, for the next time, it would make it a little bit better if you did whatever. And I can click here on done, and that just adds that comment then to that particular question. And when I click on update, then that updates it. So that for me is that particular quiz has been corrected. Um, So the last thing I want to show you is how to actually release the grades and feedbacks to your students. So the way you would do that is you would come into your gradebook again. And you can see here that this eye icon with the kind of cross through it, that's showing up. What that's telling me is that the grades are currently hidden. Um, Now that doesn't show up for the assessments where you haven't actually graded them yet, but just it's just a bit of like it's always that bit of reassurance that this hasn't been released yet to your students. Um, Now what I can do then is if I'm happy, if I've added all my grades and feedback for my students, what I can do is come up to the column menu up here, click on those 3 dots, and I can go down here and click on post grades. Now, what that'll show me is it'll give me the options to post them to everybody. So all of the students will see all the kind of grades and feedback, or else just to the students whose submissions have been graded. Now, for this one, I haven't kind of graded the test student or anything like that. But I'm just going to say show post the grades to everybody there. So I'm just going to click on post. So that has posted it, and generally what happens is students will get a notification depending on their notification settings. They'll get a notification that the grades and feedback is available for this particular assessment. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to my home page, and I'm just going to click on View as Student just to be able to show you that. And no, I need to, sorry. Wednesday morning. I'm after opening up the generic student. I'm going to go into a specific student and I'm going to act as them and I'm just going to show you what they see. Oh gosh, Wednesday mornings. Okay, so if I click in on this student here and I say act as user, I'll be able to see exactly what that student sees. So I can see here that there's an icon over here for the grades. And I can see that I've got my score here for my essay. So if I click in on the grades, for instance, it'll show here and I can see my grade for my quizzes as well. And that's related to the settings that are available for the quizzes. If the students will kind of see their results as well for those. So as a student, yeah, I can get it in the grades, or it'll show up then also on kind of my module homepage as well. And that is largely it. I'm just checking my notes here to make sure I've covered everything. There is a lot in it. It was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I will follow up hopefully later today with the recording and those links to. I'll send you links to any kind of relevant help articles and also to the two recordings that Darren Jeremiah did as well. Just if it's kind of handy if you want to kind of jump into any of the particular areas, like Turnitin or the advanced kind of feedback settings. We also have our Tell site, which has over here on the top right, you have your staff resources. We also have a knowledge base for students as well. So if they're looking for kind of guidance on how to submit their assessments and things. And down here under help docs and articles, we have a searchable knowledge base there where you can kind of search for the particular topics. But I do have a couple of them that I'm going to attach to the email just so that you have a kind of a quick link to those particular topics. Okay, I'm going to finish up now, just conscious of time. It's nearly 20 to 11. If you have any questions or anything, if you'd like to ask them, do please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A. And I'm just going to click down here as well. So our email address is edtech@mtu.ie. If anything pops up to you after the session, if you kind of think of anything, um, do um, do let us know. And other than that, thank you so much for coming. I know it's a very busy time of the year, so we do appreciate it. I hope it was helpful. And yeah, like that, just reach out if you need anything. Thanks so much.